Hi, everyone. This is Kari. I'm with Cheryl and Colleen. We're the Consistently Creative Crew, and tonight we are meeting for our first Wednesday of the month photo time, where I'm going to share some information about facial recognition and how to use it within Forever's platform. So tonight I've got a fairly broad outline first. What is it? How does it work, both in general terms, diving into a little bit more details, what is specific to Forever, some benefits and considerations of using it. Then I'm going to do a live demo in my Forever account and talk about the difference between people, which is facial recognition, and metadata tags, some ideas of options about purchasing it, as well as some final thoughts. So everybody who's here, if you have any questions as we go through, don't hesitate to ask them. And if anybody who's watching the recording, please just put up a comment and we will get back with you with some answers. So tonight, my overall goal is just for you to walk away with enough understanding to decide if facial recognition is a good tool for you. It's really helpful in organizing your photos, and that is something that a lot of people struggle with. The number of photos that they have is overwhelming, and there's a lot of people who are really good with tagging and can make time to do that. And there's other people where that's a big struggle, and facial recognition has truly been a game changer for a lot of them. So the simple definition is that it is a technology that identifies or verifies a person is in a photo, video, or live feed, and they do that by analyzing patterns in their face. It's been being used for a very long time, and it's used in a lot of places other than just in our own photos that we are storing and that we are preserving. And in Forever, it actually helps you identify people in all of your different photos and images. So in general terms, it detects a face in a photo. It maps the features like the eyes, the nose, the chin, and it compares those features across your whole library to suggest what other images are a match. And it learns over time based on whatever you're confirming as to who those individuals are. And the interesting thing about Forever is that this is not shared. The data is not shared with outside companies or with anybody else. It's only happening within your own personal secure storage. So for those of you who've had Historian, your facial recognition database works very much the same way in that for that perspective, as far as it is only your database of your photos where the faces are being recognized. So people who've been using Historian even back in Memory Manager days, there was a facial recognition with it, and it works very much the same way from that it only is building the database and the information from your photos. So diving into a little bit more details. So it uses artificial intelligence and as well as machine learning to help you identify and group those faces together. So here's how it typically works and some more specifics within Forever. So first, it has to detect a face. So it's going to scan every photo and detects regions that appear to contain faces. Now that's a very vague definition of it, but it's the best that I could find and kind of come up with. And as I will share when I am looking at some things in my account, there are a few things that it thinks is a face, but it isn't. But as you look at it, you're like, well, I can kind of see why it thinks there's an eye and a chin and a nose there, even though I can look at it as a human and say, okay, well, that really isn't an eye and a nose and a chin. But it looks for patterns like the arrangement of two eyes above a nose and above a mouth, and it looks at the symmetry of that. And from that information, that's what it's going to be using. So it doesn't identify anything about that individual, just that a face is present. So think of it kind of like it's drawing like a box around each face in a photo and saying, I need to identify this further. Then it does a facial feature mapping. So it's doing what is kind of called a face print, which is a way of mathematically representing the features in the face. It looks at the distance between the eyes, the width of the nose, the shape of the cheekbones, what the jawline and the chin shape is like. And all that data is converted into a numerical code, and that represents each unique face. And the interesting thing is that the face print is unique to everyone, just in a similar way that our fingerprints are unique. So that face print is what it uses to help group photos and images together and say that these are the same individuals. So once it's identified the faces, it compares all those face prints across everything that you have within your account, and it groups faces that appear similar. And they show up under what we refer to as the people section. And they start out as unnamed groups of photos. And you'll need to identify each of these groups with a name. You can later merge them together. You can later fix individual ones that aren't correct or aren't accurate. And the more you confirm, the smarter it gets. And that's part of the machine learning. It learns how that person looks in different lighting, different angles, at different ages, with or without glasses, with hats on, and etc. So the nice thing about it is that there really is this human confirmation. You're in control. The software suggests, but you do get the final say as to whether you approve and say, yeah, that's that person, or no, that's not that person. If you name a person, forever is going to continue to match any new photos against that face print, and it really does build more accurate understandings over time. So once the people are identified, you can then search in your people database by name. You can find all the photos with specific individuals. You can find photos containing multiple people, so you can do that, which is really good if you're trying to create something that has a picture of 2 or 3 or 4 different people in it. And you can use all of these to build slideshows or photo books, albums, or other projects. So as a reminder, one thing that is very important to many of us about Forever is that they still adhere to keeping everything private and secure. So facial recognition is done only inside your account. It's not shared with third parties. It's not used for surveillance or advertising. And that's really different from how social media platforms, as well as all of our phone-based tools, operate. So if that's a concern of yours, Forever is offering a really good option for that. So what happens is once you upload individual photos into your Forever account, if you have photo recognition enabled and turned on, it automatically starts detecting those faces. And once it identifies any of those faces, it will gather them in groups for you to identify and name. You can name the people as the entire group, or you can go into each of the individual images in a group and look at every photo. Faces really become searchable, so it allows you to find people really quickly. So I think the biggest benefit for most people is that it speeds up their organizing process. There are many people who have tens of thousands of photos in their Forever account, and tagging is not something that they've been successful at doing and implementing, and they find all their photos automatically, and it just like magically does it for them. And I've talked to a few ambassadors and customers who've actually used this to help them build photo books and create things for family members. One shared recently about how they took all the photos of them and their dad and created a special book for their dad's birthday, and it was just the two of them throughout their entire lives together, which was, I think, wonderful. It's also good for family history projects and for being able to quickly come up with celebrations and slideshows and memorials and things like that. And the nice thing, again, is that improves accuracy every time you confirm an individual is who it believes it is, and it's still secure and private and staying in your own account. So a couple of considerations. The initial cleanup is not instantaneous. So if you decide to purchase for facial recognition and it gets turned on, it will not happen within seconds, but it does happen very quickly. It may need to learn to identify people who look similar, especially young siblings or older and younger versions of the same person. But I watched a training with an individual who has a set of twins and talked to somebody else who has a set of triplets, and it has done phenomenal at recognizing who is who in these sets of twins and triplets. So it does a really good job. There is a small learning curve for you to name and merge people, but it is pretty intuitive, and I will show you that tonight when I go into my account and show that live. I know there's a lot of people who are concerned about the privacy or may not want to use the automated tools, but you are really in control, and you can always choose to use it or not use the feature. And regardless, the photos are still yours and preserved. So I created a list of things that I wanted to do in my Forever account. So I am going to go ahead and pull that up, and I've got it on my other screen. So this is a filtered down version of my Forever account. And so when I'm on the main screen, I go to Forever and then I can go to People. So I've got a number of people here, and you can see up in the upper right-hand corner, there is this show and hide people. So I've hidden a bunch of people. I've actually changed a few names because I knew this was going to be out there on YouTube and Facebook. So I decided to make just a few alterations. So this doesn't have all of my account, doesn't have everything in it, but I think it's enough for me to show you a lot of things about it. So the first thing I want to tell you is that there are some people here. So I went to a concert with Steve Miller Band. So I have some pictures of him, and he's actually down here also with 6 files. And then my daughter had a bunch of American Girl dolls, and that's what these are. You can see that it's catching doll faces also because they have eyes and a nose and a mouth and a chin. This happens to be a statue in Jamaica on the beach when I went to a Forever event there. So it found I must have taken 16 photos of near this statue with a variety of people. You can also look as you scan through here, there's a number of profiles where it has a hard time, like this one, it's just got the top of the face. But it found 11 files from right at that same time, but it doesn't realize that this person is the same as somebody else in my library. As you kind of look at these, you can see I can totally understand why somebody scuba diving with a face mask and a regulator would never be figured out. Young child with a hat and sunglasses. This is a profile of a face with some hair on the side. This sailor is actually a statue in China. This one happens to be one of the puppets in It's a Small World in Disney. And then I have another statue in China, and you can see here, this is one of my older relations, and it identified a number of photos with this one in it. You can kind of see here, this is Mickey Mouse. So I left a number of these things in here so you could see how all of these work. So if I decided I wanted to change the main photo of myself, so I'm going to go and click on here, I can once I click on that face, I get this pop-up menu in it, and I'm going to kind of walk through a number of these. So it's got view person, which would allow me to view all the photos that it has identified as me in my account here. I could edit my cover photo. I could bulk merge other of these individual people circles into this one. I could download files, I could hide. So let me just go ahead and edit the cover photo. So let's say I'm looking at this and I want to find something that is much older. I'm going to go back to one of my wedding photos. And it knows that that face was me in that photo, and it can change to that. So I can do the same thing with anybody else. So that was the first thing I want to show you. So you could always change the cover image, and it's just as quick as that. So the next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to merge in this Steve Miller picture with this Steve Miller picture. So I'm going to go and I'm going to click on the circle. Actually, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to right click on the circle. I'm going to do a bulk merge. And I know that this one is also Steve Miller. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to continue to review. And it says, are you sure you want to merge this one with this one? It cannot be undone. So it will combine those. And I'll show you in a little bit, all the information that you've added to the selected people will be lost. I'll show you what that means. You can go back into all of those individual photos and later on and say, oops, this was a mistake. I need to fix it, but there is no undo button here. So I'm going to go ahead and merge. And now that other one is gone. So it says here success. So what it was referring to is the information when you are in a specific individual, you can add details about that person. So if I go into this person and I want to put in additional details, if I want to put some information about his bio, I could put some information in here about who he was, I could put his birth date. There's information if you were like doing this with somebody in your family, you might want to actually have that biographical information in here. I'm not going to put anything in here about him right now. But if I merged a tag or merged a person that had this information in it with another one that had different information, the one that is you're merging into is going to be the one that's going to be the final information. So I'm going to show you again. So I am going to merge Joe Elliott. There was another one of Joe Elliott here. Let's see here. I know there wasn't there a second one of him? Maybe not. Maybe I already merged it. Okay, so I'm going to merge some into
It's there, Kari. Isn't it down the bottom, the next, in the middle row?
Over two, in the middle row, keep going, to the right.
To the right, to the right, to the right.
Thank you. Thank you. I was like,
welcome.
I was pretty sure I had it here. Okay. So there it is. It's right here. Okay. So what it means is that it's going to merge this one into this one, which was the one that I actually right clicked on. And so this is the one that I would have wanted to have all of that biographical information in there. So which one you're merging into is important to pay attention, especially if you've added any of that biographical information. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to merge a little bit more here because I know. So I'm looking at these and I'm realizing, okay, this is a sign. I realize why it wouldn't have caught it. I can kind of see why some of these photos wouldn't have been captured initially, especially this one. It was really cold. She was very bundled up. So all of these are definitely her. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to review, and I'm just going to give it another look. And yes, all of these are her. And I'm going to go ahead and merge. So you can see it's already cleaning up fairly quickly. Okay, so I've got these two. I'm going to go ahead and do another bulk merge here. So this one and this one are him. I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right. So now I'm kind of left with some things that I'm like, I'm not sure what to do with this. So again, I am not 100% certain who this is. So I'm going to go in and take a look at this. So I'm going to take a look. Oh, well, you can see this is actually me. I'm going to look here and I'm hovering over the people and it's unnamed. Yep, those are all me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to people and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bulk merge again. And I'm going to add that one. All right, so what else did I want to do? Okay, so I wanted to go into this one. So this one is actually from another concert from a long time ago, and I want to just show you how to name the person. So this is, I click on the word unnamed, and this was actually Kelly McGuire. And you can see it didn't come up with a name in my organization here that was the same, and now it's gonna force me to actually click on this. Do you really want to rename this? So I am. So what else I was going to show you? Oh, yes. Okay. So I wanted to go into Mickey. So Mickey here, if I look at the individual photo, it's got 3 individuals here. It's got mom, it's got this student, it's got this unnamed, which really is Mickey. If you can see the white box here, that truly is Mickey Mouse. Well, now I'm not going to actually identify it. I actually think it's Minnie, but there is another person in here, and the facial
Those are all
recognition
Mickey.
was run. Okay, that was all Mickey. Thank you. The facial recognition was run and it did capture this face, but I've hidden this individual from my listing for this evening. So you can see that since it's gotten this white box, it's identified it. It's identified here. It's identified this one. The logic forces the software to think that there can only be one person in a photo at a specific time. So it doesn't really recognize, it's found this photo, but it has to learn that we've put multiple people, the same picture, because we're scrapbookers and we've got photos of the same individual. So now I want to show you a couple of other things that it thought is this same face, which is Mickey. So when I hover over this, it actually has this My Little Pony here, and it thinks it's the same face, but I can tell you that's definitely not Mickey. And then this, I was looking at, how did it identify this as a face? But the more I look at it, the more I'm realizing, okay, I can kind of see there's some eyes, there's kind of a nose, but this is not really anything. So in this one, I want to edit this and I'm going to delete this face. I've got this red minus sign here. So I'm going to delete this. I can remove this person from a photo because it isn't a person. So I'm going to remove it. So I'm going to go back and do the same thing here. So this one that's part of a My Little Pony, I'm going to go ahead and edit it. I'm going to click on the minus and I'm going to remove the person from the photo. And this one, I'm going to edit it. And this one, I'm going to add it and call it Mickey Mouse. Did I not add it? And it doesn't know what to do with that. So, because I guess I can't add it there. So I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to add it as Mickey Mouse. And you can see I typoed, so I'm going to fix it. All right, now I'm going to go back to my people. So as you can see, I've got quite a few photos here. I think that I showed you everything that I wanted to show you in here. Does anybody have any questions about kind of manipulating around, moving around in here? Anything else that pops up? All right. So I am going to go into my gallery and I'm going to go into my filters. And now I can select my people. So I am going to sort with dad. And now if I want to do another one, I actually have to erase that. I can do mom. And if I want to do one with student, and then I can show all the results. And now I've got all of the images that had all three of those people captured in it. And it captured all of the scrapbook pages as well as all of the images. And I do not have all of my scrapbook pages tagged. So in order to have done this, I would have had to invest quite a bit of time to do that. So if I wanted to create like an album with this, I could select all of these. I could create an album that had all three individuals in it. And I could always use that in a project. So I'm hoping that that showed you, I think that showed you most of what I wanted to show you within my Forever account. Again, you can edit your photo, you can merge, you can hide people. Hiding is really helpful when you're trying to organize and you've got too many people and it's just too cluttered. Hide them because you can always go back and unhide them at a later time. I think I pointed out quite a few things where maybe it didn't recognize the profile or the glasses or definitely the scuba gear, why it wouldn't have identified those as being the same person as in the other groupings. And it does identify every face, regardless of whether it is a doll or a statue or something like an inflatable balloon like we had at of Mickey. So one of the questions that I was asked earlier is about the difference between people and tags. So I wanted to just kind of go back and think about that briefly. So people is a facial recognition based identification of an individual person. It's created using this AI tool. It groups people based on their facial features. You then assign a name to those individuals under your people section. It continues to grow. It's really helpful for finding every photo of a person, especially ones that you might have overlooked or not realized were there. And it's just a smart assistant that groups those faces together for you automatically. It does not change the information about the file. So we've talked before when we're flip back to my Forever account, and I'm going to just go back to a picture here. So the information about your file is your file name, your description, the date it was taken, when it was uploaded, how big it is, if you have tags on it. This people is not associated with the actual JPEG file. This is something that's being used by the software within your Forever account. It is not written to the data file, unlike where tags are. And so it doesn't actually affect your JPEG file at all. And that is one of the biggest ways that it is different between people and the metadata tags. So tags are things that you add manually to describe the content of a photo. And we've talked in the past about ways to tag your photos by location, by event, by people who are in your photo. So that way you can easily search and find them. Tags are searchable within metadata. Metadata, if you are using a provider who does not strip the metadata from the file as you download it or move it between platforms, can be searched between different platforms. You can still tag names of people in a group of photo, whether or not the faces are recognized. So tags are really custom labels that you control 100%, but there's nothing doing any of the heavy lifting for you. So they do complement each other. So people being automatically generated is different than tags where you have to add them manually. people is using facial data information, whereas tags, the user has to identify who all those people are. Both of them are good for groups. When you're identifying groups with people, it does need to have a face in that picture in order to identify that there is a person in there. And they're both searchable. One will only be searchable within the account that has the facial recognition with it, and the other is only searchable if the metadata tag sticks with the file format. So they really do work well together. So facial recognition really helps to identify people in your photos quickly, and tags can help you capture all those extra details. So Forever has a couple of different purchasing options for them, and I wanted to go over those and the difference between them and how you can kind of flip between them. So it's an extra payment over and above storing your photos, because obviously it's doing some coding and some work on your photos. And you can buy a subscription for $129.99 per year. So every photo that is uploaded to your account during the time of that year will automatically be processed with the facial recognition. This is a subscription. There's no long-term commitment. You can stop it at any time. Once your year is done, it will not automatically renew you if you decide you want to stop it. If you say, you know what, I have enough faces, I'm going to keep on adding to it. I want whoever's going to inherit my Forever account and become, as my account manager, I want them to continue to be able to add photos to it and have those photos automatically identified and run through facial recognition. They do offer the one-time investment of $12.99, and you can pay it off in installments. So what a lot of people do is that they purchase it for a year and see how it goes, see what they think. And the nice thing that Forever does is that if during that year you decide, you know what, I do want to go to a one-time and I want it to be permanent within my account, they will deduct what you paid for the 1 year plan for it, and you can convert that. And there's information to do that right on the website. So quite a few people do that, and I think that's a really good way to go. And I have a couple of more things. So a short story that was shared with me. So I was discussing this topic of facial recognition with my husband, and he wanted me to share this story with you. So he typed this up for me. So in the early 2000s, when he was traveling internationally quite a bit for work, trips to China started out being very anxiety filled, but they became very predictable with regard to entry and exit going through immigration. And on one trip, he was departing Beijing. He went through the usual flight check-in process and proceeded to immigration. He did share that he probably should have used the restroom before checking in for immigration, but he decided to wait until afterwards because it was always fast and efficient. So he said he was about, 7 out of 10 for urgency when he got in line. And then he said, when I got to the person checking my passport, the officer looked down at my passport photo, looked back at me, back to the photo, back at me. And after a few seconds, he said, I was not that person in the photo. And then I proceeded to show him the entry stamp a week earlier, the several entry and exit stamps from the past 6 months. He insisted that I wasn't the person pictured in my passport. I also explained that the photo was 8 years old and the years had definitely aged me, but then he had to go get a supervisor. And 10 years later, well, maybe it was really only like 2 minutes, but it certainly seemed like 10. He said the supervisor came over, and after a few more minutes of review, they stamped the passport and let me through. And now urgency was a 9 out of 10. I did make it to the restroom before exploding, had no problem getting on that flight. But I do realize how much facial recognition can change when it needs to span decades. So while we've been utilizing it for some of our software and some of our other things, he was like, yeah, that was a time where it would have been really nice that they could have just identified that it was me. So some additional thoughts. Facial recognition inside Forever is a powerful optional tool that can help you organize, find, and enjoy your photos more easily. I realize it's not meant for everyone, but knowing how it works and what it can do can help you decide if it's the right fit. And you are the one who stays in control, so you can decide whether you want to do it, how you want to use it, what you want to name, who you want to name, and how to confirm. So I want to show you a couple of more resources within the Forever platform. So I'm going to go back here. So when you are actually looking in anything in your account, I could be doing this under people. In the lower right-hand corner, there is a turquoise circle with a question mark over it that's for the Help Center. When you click on this, a number of videos pop up, and these are it's always good to check here because you never know when they're going to add one, but there are actually 2 here about facial recognition. There's this first one here, and then there's another one about how to, and it talks about actually how to use it. There's one about people, which is obviously part of facial recognition. There's one about filtering your content. The declutter tool that I talked about last month also works within people, so you could also use that here. So that's also a good thing. If you want to visit the Help Center, you can actually go into the Help Center and type in facial recognition. And there are a whole bunch of items in here in facial recognition. It talks about how to pay it off if you did a subscription and you want to do permanent. It has information about facial recognition and historians. So this is always a good thing to go in and look at. And then there's also the landing page. So on Forever, when you go to products, there is a place for facial recognition, and it has information about the various options, whether you want a subscription or a permanent one, information about why you might want to use it, as well as the fact that it is private, but it allows you to search things. And then there is some additional information in here. At the bottom, there's some FAQs and a couple of things that I found very interesting when I looked at it. So first of all, does facial recognition work on pets? The answer is no. It's primarily designed for humans, as it relies on specific facial features like eyes, nose, and mouth that are unique and consistent across different photos. However, pet and object recognition is a feature we do plan to introduce in the future. So that was fairly interesting. And I also, let's see here, there's a couple of other ones that oh, does it work with the videos in my Forever account? No, at this time, facial recognition does not work with videos stored in your Forever account. It's only available for photos, helping you name and organize people within your photos. Videos are securely stored in your account, can be added manually to your people organization, but the system does not analyze or recognize people in video content. But facial recognition for video is a feature we plan to introduce in the future. So there's quite a bit of information in here, and I hope that you found all of this useful. And I don't know if anybody here has any additional questions that maybe I didn't answer. So if anybody wants to take themselves off mute and ask any questions, I'm happy to try to answer. And it's really quiet, so I'm guessing
Hey,
not.
I'll ask a question.
Okay.
Some time ago, maybe a year, maybe more, you said you didn't use facial recognition in Historian and you didn't think you wanted to. So what changed?
Well, I'm not using it in Historian. I'm using it
Well,
within my Forever
okay, but
account. The
I
reason
know.
I started using it, one, is so I could understand it as an ambassador, but two, also I realized I was probably never going to go back and do tagging on all of the scrapbook pages that I had created. So I have scanned all of my traditional scrapbook albums as well as have JPEGs of all of my digital scrapbook albums. And now I don't have to go back in and actually tag any of those people in there because they're identified now with the facial recognition. So that saved me hundreds of hours of work just to be able to go back and do that.
So I thought your hesitation of using an historian had to do with privacy issues.
No, it didn't. It was, I never used it initially because initially, it was back like a decade ago when facial recognition was first coming out, and it wasn't very sophisticated, and it was not as sophisticated and well developed as what it is now. And I felt like when I was looking at it, it was making a lot of mistakes. But I think technology has come a long way in the past, 8 years. So I think now it would be, it's more of a useful thing. And I think the technology has caught up with that and forever has built and rebuilt the facial recognition within Historian. So, does that help?
I was just trying to get
Curious?
clarification, but I mean, it's your decision as to whether you use it or not. And I do use it in Historian. I do not use it on Forever because I don't have my main photos stored there.
Right. So, anybody else?
Yeah, could you, oh, go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
I was just gonna see, Kari, if you could clarify what you just said when you were talking to Lynn about Historian. They have redone the recognition in Historian.
Yes. So, when the software was licensed, originally it was
Right.
Panstoria's software. It was Creative Memories Memory Manager. There was
Right.
a facial recognition within that back in the day. And at some point, it was known when Forever took over the software and started rebuilding everything that they were going to need to redo the facial recognition. And at one point, the server that it was connecting with to do that facial recognition was getting shut down. So then
Oh, okay.
Forever recoded the entire process of facial recognition within Historian. But by
Okay.
that time, facial recognition had come quite a long ways as far as its development and what it could do. So
Right.
it was significantly different when they rebuilt it 2 years ago, maybe, than what it had been 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I kind of I didn't pick up on that over the years, so thanks.
And I think for me, and maybe I can clarify this for Lynn, I think for me, when I first started trying to use it, it was not doing a good job because I had a lot of, my daughter was young, a lot of her peers looked the same. It kept on confusing,
Yeah.
her with her
Yeah.
friends, and it just really wasn't good enough at the time. And so I stopped using it.
Yeah, that was pretty annoying when it picked up everybody as the same person. Yeah.
Yes. And
Yep.
so, but it's come a long ways. It's come a significantly long ways.
Sure.
So, and using it Historian now, well, I can do that as I move forward too.
Yeah.
So I
Thank
think
you.
you're welcome. I think there was another question. Carmen?
I go back and forth between the mute and the unmute. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all good.
When you were talking about you removed something from a person, you did not really remove that photo from your account.
Correct.
You just removed it from that reference.
Yes, I just said this is really not a face. Because it was actually a My Little Pony, and in the one case, it was the chrysalis from the butterfly. I just said, this is not a face, so I'm just removing it. So that's all I did. The picture, the image is still there. It's still in my account. It's just, I've told it that's not really a face, so you can ignore that.
Okay. I'm anxious to, my forever box has been inventoried and it, it had 2 separate albums in it, album pages being
Mhm.
scanned. And I have to pay, which we knew, but, so I will do that, but, I am anxious to see what's gonna come of that when you're talking about the fact that you didn't tag your album pages, because that could, when I was going to box everything up, I was kind
Mhm.
of a little disappointed in myself in that I found some of the pages many of the pages in the one album I didn't journal. And I thought, this is not right.
Right.
What, Carmen, what are you doing? Well, there are people that are so close to me that I go, oh, I know what those are. I know who those are. And that's what you got. I know I have to be careful with that because we're trying to do stuff to pass on.
Right.
So I'm kind of anxious to see what will happen, what goes on with this. I mean, everything's still a learning curve, but
Right. Right.
I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
And I think the same thing's true with a lot of my scrapbook pages that are 2-page spreads. I'll have the journaling on one page, which might identify the people, but the other page doesn't have any journaling on it, right? Because the way the layout is, and that's the way I've done a lot of my scrapbooking. And so I found, I mean, and I think I've shown in my Forever account, let me go back in there. I have a lot of albums in there. So that for me, um, scrapbook albums. I mean, I have a lot of pages, a lot of albums in here, and to go back in and identify all of these people and pages and times, and that would take a lot of work. So I find identifying with tags things, especially things that are clustered together from an event with has all the same people, it's much easier. But I think going back and trying to redo all these, that would be a challenge for me.
Are
So
you, are you, are you saying these are, every one of these is, virtually every one of these is a traditional album?
yes.
Awesome.
Yes. 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 I've done a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I take a lot of photos, and there's definitely been phases of time where when we've traveled, I've done, a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, I like taking lots of photos. So yes, that's why it took me over a year to get through all of
And
these.
you have 103 of them or thereabouts, right?
Yes, and there's also digital albums in here too. So there are some albums that were 100%
That's all
digitally
right.
created. But
They're
yes,
still albums. Yeah.
they're still
Okay.
albums. They're still here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Well, I know that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say about facial rec, but I should share with you that the new towels are out and they do look great. And I think I might have mentioned them before, but they have beach towels, they have tea towels or kitchen towels, and they have golf towels. So
Ooh,
if I'll filter to the beach towels just to let you see what some of the different designs look like. There's some really great ones here, and like a lot of them allow you to change the colors in them. So you have other color options, which is awesome. And if you have, teams or groups of people, there's another page here. So those are really neat. And the no, well, the next one here is the golf towel. So the golf towel is kind of neat that they have the grommet here as well as the hook, so it can hook on to something. I understand they are getting something else for all of those people who like to play pickleball. They're working on trying to get one like this that does not have the grommet and hook. But this is kind of interesting because somebody that I know did this for their husband for Father's Day, and it's the world's okayest golfer. So that was kind of an interesting one. But lots of different designs here. So going back to the golf towel. So with different logos and things, as well as pictures. And then the kitchen towels, I'm going to clear that, go to the tea towels. So these are kind of neat. They've got one here that you could take somebody's handwritten recipe card and put it on, and they turns out really nice. They've also got, I should have gone back. This one, and this I found really interesting. So they went in and they took a look at this and they went in to personalize this, and I had not realized that, but you can see it's like these maroon stripes, but you can actually change the color of the stripes on the tea towel, which, since it's actually printing, it's photo printing on the whole tea towel, you can actually get that and have that all changed. So there's lots of ways
That's
to
awesome.
customize. Isn't that neat?
That's awesome. Yep.
There's lots of ways to customize these, and I think that other one, let me try to get back to that recipe one. I think that one also, let me personalize that. Yes, so you can get the back, you can change the background color a little, to a different color, which I think is also kind of neat, depending on what you're looking for. So,
Can you show us blue on the kitchen towel? Background of blue. Oh, pretty. Nice. Nice, nice.
and depending on what, I mean, they've got a lot of shades here.
Yeah.
That could work.
What about the
So,
ones that show like flowers or something? What does it do?
I don't, well, that has like a plaid thing, right?
Yeah,
It
but
does
go down
something.
to go.
Oh, it's got the paw prints. It's kind of faded. Can you kind of see? I can't zoom it in. Oh, it put that in the,
The recipe.
yeah, and it's on the whole thing, but it ended up in the entire background. Go down to what?
The flowered one, a couple lines up. Yeah, there. Oh, you can see the faded flower thing back there.
And until you
Not
fill
faded
this with
there.
right, until you fill that with a photo, that's what it would look like.
Huh. Interesting.
And you can change, obviously, the font here to a different font, and obviously type in your own things, put in your own photos. I don't know if there's, looks like there are some differences, slight differences here in how that recipe card is. Can you see as I change between the layouts that the actual box for the photo is a little bit different in size? So if you put in the first one and it's not big enough, they have actually given you a couple of other options where that image can be enlarged here. So always go in and double check the layouts and see if the layout might need to be modified. So those are the newest things out with Forever. Let me go back. And the price point on all of those are really nice. I mean, the tea towels are $12. So the golf towels are $12 and the beach towels are $30. So
That looks like what, a 35% discount?
uh, these are 40%.
40%. 40%.
So it's still a really good price point. So just so you know that was one of the latest things that just came out. And I should have had a slide, but I didn't. But next week there are a couple of things coming up. This is actually tomorrow evening. Glenn Meekum, who used to have a podcast back in his free market days, the previous company that he founded and then eventually sold. He used to do a podcast and he is reinitiating the podcast here. So with Forever, and it's not going to be all about forever. It's going to be all about life. And the first one is live tomorrow evening. You can register for it on the website. And the other thing is that on June 17th, there is the Milestone Summer Fun virtual event coming up. And also you can register for that on the website also. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I appreciate all of your questions and your time and your comments. And I look forward to seeing everybody next week for our project recipe class. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you
Kari.
so much.
Night.
Appreciate it.